Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Escondido in California. So today I have another question that has come in. So please private message me your questions on travel so we can bring you some answers on these Facebook Lives. So today's question is from Karen, and Karen would like to know what are some of the unique cruise ideas out there. And she mentioned in her message that she had heard things like theme cruises. What are those? What are some of the ones that are out there, and what are some of the more unique itineraries? So Karen, we are going to be answering your question today and a lot more. So welcome everybody as you come in. So just remember to private message me your travel question. It could be on cruises, land tours, doing customized itineraries to different locations for self-drive, and that sort of thing. So we're going to talk about some of the different itineraries that are out there. And there are themed cruise ones that are out there, things like at Christmas time you get the Christmas market cruises that go on the rivers in Europe. And I will tell you this, the European Christmas markets are amazing to go and see. Brad and I got to do one a few years ago on Armour Waterways, and we started off with 2 nights in Prague and then was taken down to Nuremberg, where we boarded one of the Armour Waterway ships, and I honestly cannot remember which one it was right now. Oh, I should have looked it up before we got on this. But we got on there in Nuremberg, and we went down the main Danube Canal onto the Danube River and ended up in Budapest. And what was there was a little thing there where for a couple of days I couldn't leave the ship because I ended up with a 24-hour stomach flu. But that's okay. I'm going to go back and get to the ports that I missed this time, because there was a couple of ports there I really wanted to see, and I happened to miss those. But the Christmas markets are amazing. There are food stalls out there with local cuisine in there. There's a lot of the local craftsmen are out there with their stuff. But I will tell you this, when we were in Budapest, we went to the Christmas markets during the day, and then we went back in the evening. We actually spent 3 nights because the cruise ended in Budapest, and we actually spent 3 nights in Budapest after the cruise ended, because we were on blackout dates for flying with mileage. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we couldn't fly on our miles, which, well, it's a little bit of a shame. Had to spend an extra 3 nights in Budapest. Real hardship. Not really. But we would go down to the Christmas markets every night for dinner, because the atmosphere down there was so different from the day. In the daytime, tourists everywhere. And there were different booths open during the day for the tourists, and then there were other ones that were open in the evenings for the locals, which was really quite unique, because being a traveler, I'm more interested in hanging out with the locals and being with where they are and that sort of stuff. And most people know that I am a humongous chocoholic. Huge chocoholic. I don't share my chocolate with anybody. It has to be a very special occasion for me to share chocolate. But we had dessert there one night, and there was a store which wasn't open during the day. It was a bakery store, and we went and had dessert there. And I left Brad in charge of dessert. And he comes back with this apple strudel. It was the best apple strudel I had ever had. And I not only had it the first night, I had it the second night, and I had it the third night. And it turned out it was actually a white chocolate apple strudel. And those of you who know me know I can't stand white chocolate. But this, yes, Kathy, I can see you laughing there. But this was the best apple strudel I had ever had. It was a white chocolate apple strudel. It was amazing. And I had it for 3 nights in a row, and I did not share any of it with Brad. He had to get his own. But so you got the Christmas market cruises. Then you will have, for those of you who like your wines, you will have the wine cruises. The big cruise lines do these as well. And then you have the river cruises that do the wine cruises that will go through the different wine regions. They'll have the winemakers come on board. They'll have sommeliers on board with the ship as well. But usually they have the winemakers on board that come in and talk about making of the wine. They show you how to do the swirly thing in the glass and how to do the tasting correctly and all that, and show you how to pair up your wines with food. So there's lots of different wine cruises out there. Then you have, oh my gosh, you've got a Beatles revival cruise. You've got just about anything. I've been on board a ship where there was a quilting cruise there. One of the conference rooms there was just tables with sewing machines on them, as well as having areas where they could sit and do their hand stitching as well, and tables where they could lay out the materials and things. And these women just spent almost the entire cruise in this room just quilting as we were sailing through Alaska. And I was like, I would not be stuck inside in Alaska quilting. But they enjoyed it. They sat there and had their little nattering thing going on. There's been different types of dance cruises going on. Holland America does, don't know if they still do it, but they did a Dancing with the Stars cruises where they would actually have people training with their onboard professionals and entering competitions and stuff, and then those who won the local cruise competition then went to another cruise later on to come back and compete for the cruise ship's Mirrorball. And I believe they also had some of the stars from the actual show Dancing with the Stars coming on board the ship as well, but I think they were more judges, but they were doing a couple of classes as well. So there's different ones like that you can do. Just about any topic you can think of, we could probably do a cruise around it. And yes, Temptation Cruise, that's been a big one as well. They were also, like Carnival for a while in the Caribbean was doing a concert on board the ship. They would be in a port, and while they were in port that day, they would have this huge concert. And I know Carrie Underwood was one of them. I think Garth Brooks was another one. But they had different music stars coming on and doing a concert on board the ship. And I think Taylor Swift might have been one, doing concerts on board the ships for that day while it was in port. And only those that were on the cruise ship got to go to those concerts. So which was kind of cool. Now, some of the more unique itineraries that we've got out, oh my gosh, there are so many of them, but I'm only just going to give you a quick few. So speaking of Ama Waterways, they have this really cool African river cruise that you can do on the Chobe River, but it's not just the Chobe River you get to go on in Botswana. You also get to go and you're on the Zambezi Queen, which only holds 28 passengers, so 14 cabins. Very small ship, very exclusive, often sold out. So if you want to get on this one, you got to get in quick. But they have different things. It's a land and cruise package, and you can fly in and spend a couple of nights in, like, Cape, for example. You spend a couple of nights in Cape Town, then they fly up to Botswana, where you get on the Zambezi Queen on the Chobe River for 4 nights. One of the things you get to do while you're on the Chobe River is that you get to see the animals coming down to the water, to the edge of the river to drink in the evenings and in the mornings and things. Then you might spend a couple of nights at Victoria Falls, and then you might get to go to Kruger National Park and do safaris. But they have different itineraries around South Africa, Botswana. They've got one that goes into Tanzania. They even have a Rwanda extension, so you can go and see the gorillas. So they have this really cool African adventure that they can do down there, and that's just one of the unique itineraries, and that one is kind of cool. Then you have a cruise line called Uncruise. And they are small cruise ships. I think their biggest ship, if I remember correctly, only holds 90 passengers. So less than 100 people on board. And they do really cool Alaskan itineraries. They go into those little ports that the big ships can't get into. So one of the ones that they can do is that they might start it in Juneau instead of in Seattle or Vancouver. So they might do 7 nights around Juneau, going up into the different glacier areas, into the fjords. And like I said, they're going into the small places where the big ships can't get, because these are small ships and they have kayaks on board and paddle boards, and some of them may even have snorkeling equipment and wetsuits available. But they're getting into the smaller ports of Alaska where you're getting to see more of the wildlife. You're getting up close to the glaciers. You're able to see the whales up there a lot easier because you're into the smaller ships and things. So they have some really cool different itineraries, and Alaska's one of the ones that they have. They also go to Hawaii, the Sea of Cortez, and other areas as well with really cool stuff. Then you have... let's see. The one that we're doing in May of next year. We've teamed up with Lindblad Expeditions, who do all the National Geographic trips. And next year we're doing in when are we doing it? March. We've got a 14-day option and we have a 21-day option. So the 14-day option, which is included on the 21-day option, and Helen can't. Got my stuff up here on the computer, so you'll have to excuse me for just checking out the computer here, so make sure I get itineraries correct. So on the 14-day option, we spend the first few days in Ecuador. So we're going to be in Quito, and then we're going to go, and Quito is a UNESCO World Heritage City, or town, so UNESCO World Heritage Site. So we get to spend some time there looking at the history of Quito. Then we go up into the Andes to Mashpai Lodge, and Mashpai Lodge is in a tropical forest at 3,000 feet above sea level. And apparently they have all this different wildlife, plant life and all of that with this, what do they call it? Biodiverse. I've got no idea what that term means, but it just sounded really cool. And I know they have a lot of hummingbirds and butterflies and all that, which I love butterflies. Brad loved hummingbirds, so I thought we got to go see those. Then from there we go back to Quito, and then we're off to the Galapagos, and we do a 7-night Galapagos cruise around the island. So you get to see some of the wildlife there in the Galapagos, like the giant sea tortoises. There'll be was it turtles, whichever, the ones with the hard shells. Tortoises. Pretty sure it's tortoises. You'll get to see sea lions. You'll get to see the blue-footed boobies. You'll get to see the frigate birds. You'll get to see the marine iguanas. Marine iguanas, these things are cool. They're actually like an iguana that go in the water, but they're like 4 foot long, but weigh like 4 pounds or something. I mean, they're really long, but they weigh like 4 pounds, which just absolutely fascinated me. And they swim in the water, and those ones there's you'll be able to go scuba diving. The ones that we have, there will be a scuba diving options for those who want to go scuba diving, or you can go paddle boarding or kayaking or snorkeling, and then you've got all the trekking around on the islands, and they have 3 different ways you can do the islands. You can do the easy walk, you can do the medium walk, or you can do the run. And it's not really a run, it's just those that are really fit that just get up and whoop, they're gone. And then when that finishes, you then have the option to add on 7 nights to Peru. And from Peru, we go down to Lima. We do the Sacred Valley of the Incas. Then we go up to Machu Picchu, and we we overnight at Machu Picchu, which is really, really cool because it's the only hotel by the gate to Machu Picchu. The other hotels closest are like 30 minutes down the hill, which means you can get up in the morning and do the morning walk to the Sun Gate, which will be really cool. And then from there we go down to Costco, and then from there we go back to Lima and fly home. So that's another different one you can do. This one I found out about when I was at, where was I? I was at a cruise planners boot camp in Vegas in March of this year, and got introduced to Quark Expeditions, and they do Antarctica is one of the ones that they do. And so we got to hear about what it was like down in Antarctica, and they actually had one of the naturalists were there giving as part of the presentation as well, which was really cool to hear it from his perspective, being the guide who was taking people into Antarctica, introducing them to the wildlife that's down there, all the penguins, the sea lions, the whales, and all of that sort of stuff that's down there, what sort of wildlife you get to see. And they have this really cool thing. Now, they usually go out of Chile, and then across Drake Passage. But some people don't want to be on a ship going across Drake Passage, so they actually have a really cool thing. You can either leave out of Chile on the boat and stay on the ship the entire time, or you can fly from Punta Arenas across to King George. So you fly over Drake Passage to King George, where you then get onto the ship and then do the sailing around the Antarctica Peninsula, and then you get off in King George and fly back over Drake Lake while the braver ones stay on the ship and sail back. So that's a really cool one. That's something different and unique that you can do as well. And you'll get to see all sorts of really cool wildlife, and those ones is a very, very limited season, and you're talking like January, February, maybe March. I guess it depends on usually January. Oh no, it's actually December, January, February, March, because it's the summer months down there. And then the last one I'm going to talk about today, and there are so many out there, so get with your travel professional, let them know what you want to do, and they'll be able to do it. The other one was an astronomy voyage to Norway. There is a cruise line called Hurtigruten, and they basically do the mail run up and down the coast of Norway. That's all they do is just go. They have this one ship. There's a couple of ships that just go up and down the way. They do a whole bunch of other ones, but one of the ones that most people know them for is doing the mail run. So you actually get to go to a lot of ports, but you don't get to get off as many as you think you get to get off, because some of them are just a mail drop and a mail pickup. But they have these astronomy voyages where you can go up, and during these ones go, I'm going to find it here, I think it's September through March, so through the winter months, when you get to see the Northern Lights. So you've got a higher chance of seeing the Northern Lights in that time period. And plus you have an astronomer on board who's talking about all the beautiful stars and everything that you get to see from the ship as you're sailing, because you don't have all the light pollution that you usually get close to cities and stuff. You're away from all of that. And so that's a 12-day cruise that you can do that goes up the coast and back down again. So those are just some of the unique itineraries that you can do, some of the unique themes that are available on cruise ships, some of the unique itineraries that you can do that actually end up being land and sea or just sea with some really cool twists to them. There's many, many, many more, and the companies that I mentioned here all do completely different itineraries. These are just some of the highlights that they do. But if you're interested in more, get with your travel professional. If you don't have a travel professional, contact me, private message me about the ones that you're interested in, and we can get you some more information on those. If you have a question relating to travel in any way, be it cruise, be it land, be it tours, be it private tours, be it self-drive, self-exploration, cycling tours. We even have a company that does cycling tours. Then drop me a private message and ask me your questions, and we will put them on a Facebook Live for you. So Karen, I hope that answers your question about some of the unique itineraries that are out there. Until next time, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we will see you tomorrow.